Ever oil.
There's alpha oil and alpha butter.
Ever oil, is it both?
Yes. Yeah.
Right. I forgot to bring it. So we're using sweet almond oil. Now, which brings us to a good point. That any of your butters or your oils are interchangeable, providing you don't swap ever oil with ever butter. A butter must be interchanged with another butter. So if it says ever butter, you can use shea butter or cocoa butter or olive butter or mango butter. Okay, mango butter, by the way, sounds very delicious. It's not actually made from mangoes. Okay. So your oils can all be interchanged. If it says sweet almond oil or wheat germ oil or evening primrose oil, according to your pocket, you may swap your oils, provided so you should interchange oils with oils, butters with butters. Over here, I'm supposed to use ever butter, ever oil. I've forgotten to bring some with. So I'm just using sweet almond oil because I know it's not going to make any difference to the recipe, really. It'll bring different qualities. Each oil has different vitamins and different qualities, but that's all. The recipe itself isn't going to change. How many ever oils? I had a customer in the other day and she's allergic to nuts. Basically, she can't even look at it. Her skin starts. But literally, if she touches a nut, she doesn't have to eat it. If she touches a nut, her throat starts closing up. She said to me, which was one of the oils that I had? I don't think which one it was that she wanted to swap because it had nuts in it. I don't think.
Oh.
Anyway, which one?
Almond.
Almond, sweet almond. Good point. A sweet almond oil. So she said, what can I use instead? I said, any oil. And let me just tell you this, that we have this funny thing in our heads in this country, I think, maybe all over the world, but certainly here, about sunflower oil. What is that? Fish oil. I mean, what? Just because people fry their fish in it doesn't mean that sunflower oil is fish oil, and it doesn't mean that it stinks, and it doesn't mean that it's ugly, and it doesn't mean that it isn't nutritious. It's beautiful. You know, it's from a plant. You know, it comes from a plant that's nourished by the sun. It's a fully nutritious, beautiful oil. And so, even if you've got a recipe and you've got evening primrose oil, which is like, what did she want to charge me the other day? I didn't replace it. She wanted to charge me 550 Rand a kilo. Understand? That means this thing over here, I would pay 55 Rand for. I then have to sell it. So I decided, I think I'll leave it all. But let's say you come across a recipe and it says evening primrose oil. Okay, we know that evening primrose oil does bring its own special things to a recipe. We know that. But let's say the pocket doesn't allow, or you're making a huge batch, or you want to bring the cost down so that you can sell it cheaper. You use any of your other oils, and if it means that you sometimes use sunflower oil, that is okay. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it, okay? It's not good for my business, but sunflower oil, olive oil, those are brilliant oils. Okay, so those are also interchangeable. Okay, now I've done this. Okay, what next? Ever butter. Two. Okay, and next? Salmon. Three. In hotter climates, you might find that you need to put in more beeswax. Beeswax is what hardens it, okay? Hardens it. Beeswax is a hardener and a thickener, okay? So, let's say this is a lotion bar and you want it to stay solid. In Botswana it's very hot, so you might find that it melts. You know, it's walking around in your handbag, selling your handbags. So, you actually want to use more beeswax. And in winter, over here, you might want to use less beeswax because it might be so hard that you can rub away for an hour and still not get any lotion on your skin. So, beeswax, remember, is very temperature dependent, okay? How hot is it, how cold is it, and then you change your beeswax. Okay, did I put any in? Did you see? No. Okay. So, how many? 3 of these? 1, 2. Now, let me tell you something else about beeswax. Beeswax is very, very sensitive to temperature change itself. So if you put beeswax into anything that's cold, I just want to show you, here's a really set. So if you pour your beeswax onto, let's say you've got beeswax in a lotion. You've mixed up your lotion and now it says add beeswax. If you have to add hot beeswax into a cold lotion mix, it's going to solidify and you're going to get teeny little grains, there's the word, of beeswax all through your lotion, which will melt when somebody rubs it into the skin, but really it's not what you want. So you then have to heat up your lotion. You have to make your lotion warm before you add your beeswax to it. The other thing is just to heat everything up at the same time. Because that's beeswax, very tricky stuff to work with, okay? But in these particular recipes, it's not, because we're just working with warm recipes anyway. So now I'm mixing it all through. Let me just get a bit of heat on this. Make sure it's melted. Okay, now this is just say color. Fragrance, Okay, so as we all do, I go through phases where there are different fragrances that appeal to me. And so I'm going to just use the ones that I'm currently relating well to. Okay, so I'm going to add, this is a lotion glass, I'm going to add lemon and vanilla, which I did in a candle, a body butter candle, and I'm telling you, it smells like a lemon meringue pie. It's quite bad. So you can walk around and people can think you're very delicious. Okay, so I'm just adding in my fragrance, quite a substantial amount of fragrance, okay? Because this is a very solid balm. It's very dense. If you want to be able to smell it, you add lots of fragrance. So I'm putting in, which is probably about 5 mils of each. So it's about 10 mils of fragrance. French vanilla and lemon. French vanilla is going to color it a bit. Okay, just mixing through. Mixy. Okay. And then, hopefully it's not too hot, so I don't damage my mold. But I'm pouring it into a bar mold, which I think is like quite a sexy bar mold. Nice to hold, nice to rub on you, no like heavy corners or anything. Okay. So I'm just going to pour it into there. That's from the French vanilla fragrance turned in that colour. And that's nice. Right, I'm just going to pour the rest into the other side, even though it's not going to make a full bar. Now let's say this was you. You don't want to waste that, because that's what it's expensive. It doesn't look like a lot of money in there, but there's a lot of money in there. So what do? You set it, okay? And then, first of all, you probably won't do one batch at a time like I just did. It's a bit silly, if you're doing a whole batch of bars. You're going to do a few, so you'll double up on your recipe. So you probably won't have any, but if you do have left over, you let it set, you store it, and then you melt it with the next batch, okay? Or, what I could have done, which I didn't do because I wanted to keep my mold available, I could have poured it into here and done bath butters out of it. Same thing. Okay. So, there's that one done. And now we're just going to leave it to set a bit. And when it's not wobbly anymore, I'm going to actually put it in the fridge to help it speed up. Okay. So now let's do some bath butters. Pretty similar recipe I see over here. Okay, will somebody call it to me, please? I'm using the same things and using the same fragrances. How does it go? How many? 4. 4 cocoa butters. I think I should keep this stove a little bit more. Which one is that? That's this one here. Right. Were there enough candles? Did everybody get a candle?
Yeah.
4 of these. 1, 2, 4 cocoa butter there. 4 shea butter. Now let me tell you about shea butter. It's grown in one place in the world, in Ghana. It's grown in Ghana, and it grows on a tree called the shea nut tree. And who planted those trees? The bats. It was bats.
That's
Bats. Because the bats eat the shea nuts. Then they pull out the pips and they plant all the trees. Now people don't plant the trees because it takes them many, many, many years before there's any fruit. So the people lose patience, but the bats keep on doing it. Okay?